I'd like to talk about this fucking video from How Money Works. This one was, if we tax rich people, they will just leave. I think making fun of that argument. And let's see.
Time the idea of effective taxation is being discussed, there is one counter-argument that comes up more often than any other.
Record number of millionaires are expected to relocate internationally this year.
800,000 New Yorkers are prepared to leave the city.
An estimated 60...
I don't know what he's going to say, but I'll already tell you this. From what I've seen, we talked about this on Lemonade Stand. It wasn't about the higher taxes in the UK. It was about the declining quality of life. It's like millionaires start fleeing once they've already sucked a place dry. Once the place becomes more dangerous and destitute, they just fucking move on. And it's not whether or not they're taxed. You know, there's like higher tax places where they'll still stay, like, you know, like a Norway, for example. But yeah, I think that is what I've understood. I'm not saying there's no limit to it, but
800,000 New Yorkers are prepared to leave the city.
An estimated 16,500 very rich people will leave this country this year.
Yeah, that's right. If we try to tax rich people, they are just going to leave, taking with them their money, their jobs, and their businesses. Ironically, if all the rich people leave, then we won't even get the taxes they were paying, which means that by trying to increase revenue, we might actually end up shrinking it. Capital flight or tax flight has become a massive focus around the world once again, particularly in the UK and now in the newly formed Socialist People's Republic of New York City, because they are at risk of losing the very individuals that shaped their economies into what they are today. Headlines have been flooded with high-profile people either leaving or threatening to leave these places and go somewhere more accommodating like Miami, Dubai, Singapore, or Switzerland. But the question is, would that actually be such a bad thing?
Can't decide whether to leave the state or the country.
It's time to move on and leave the state of California permanently, and we're going to go to Florida.
Making a big move, he's heading to Miami, or at least has been there for quite some time, and it comes with an added bonus.
Dude, the Jeff Bezos one is so funny because they asked him point blank, is this about taxes? And he's like, no, of course not. I just really want to be closer to my dad. Shut the fuck up, Jeff Bezos. You have 14 private planes and houses everywhere. You're obviously becoming a Miami resident so that when you sell 30 billion of Amazon stock, you're not paying the tax. It's what absurd. I can't believe they just let him get away with that answer.
State income tax.
Don, we're talking about Elon Musk moving from California to Texas.
I'm leaving.
Okay, then. That was always allowed.
There's a theoretical concept in economics about the relationship between tax rates and actual tax revenue. If tax rates are very low, then naturally tax revenue will also be low because not many people are willingly going to send a check to the government. As rates increase, so does revenue, but only up to a point. Eventually, if you raise taxes any higher, it will actually result in lower overall revenue because business activity is disincentivized, or yes indeed, because people will move to somewhere else with lower taxes. Plotting out this relationship gives you what economists call the Laffer curve, named after Arthur Laffer, who popularized the idea during, well, you guessed it, the Reagan administration. Now, the idea itself is not inherently wrong, but it requires a lot of nuance, and without that, it's often used in really dumb ways to justify equally dumb fiscal policy. The first problem is mistaking exactly where on the graph most places exist. Pundits for lower taxes will say that we are on this side of the graph, which means that if only we lowered rates, it will stimulate more economic activity and actually result in higher total revenue, which can be used to fund government programs or pay down debt. It's a neat idea that you have probably heard a lot before, but it's not really backed up by most data. A 2017 study conducted on 27 OECD countries found that almost all of them were unsurprisingly on this side of the graph, where raising rates on top earners would simultaneously raise tax revenue. Out of all of the countries in the study, the biggest gap between the actual tax rate and revenue maximizing tax rate was in Mexico, Slovakia, and the United States.
The big three!
Now, the reason why this gap was so big was more than just simply the fact that we don't tax as much as most of our European counterparts, but we will get to that soon. For now, despite what you may have been told, the analysis overwhelmingly suggests that we are indeed on this side of the curve. Now, in the interest of fairness, the second mistake that people make by trying to read these lines is assuming that the one and only goal of tax policy is to milk the maximum possible amount of money out of people. The revenue maximizing tax rate and the optimum tax rate are not always the same thing. Lowering rates can be a good way to give average households a budgetary reprieve, or higher taxes can be used on vices to try to stem their use. But the biggest mistake of all is the assumption that most rich people choose their home by sorting low to high on a global tax database, and they are ready to jump ship the second the bill arrives.
Yeah.
The reality is a lot more nuanced than that, to put it generously. The 2024 Global Wealth Report by UBS found that European countries with higher tax rates generally had a higher rate of wealth growth over the last 15 years, even after including high net worth immigration. Globally, the countries with the highest median wealth per capita all generally had very high and progressive rates of taxation on income and consumption. Closer to home, people have been threatening to leave places like New York for decades now. And yet, even after adjusting for inflation, their millionaire populations are higher than they have ever been before.
New Yorkers are going to flee. They're going to flee New York because of Zohran Mamdani.
To my liberal friends who keep saying, well, tax rates don't matter, then why is it, Sean, that everybody is leaving New York?
Don't you see what's happening even in New York City? They're running out of money. Why? Because the rich people are moving.
New York's population of millionaire earners, that has nearly doubled since 2010. There are 34,000 New Yorkers making at least $1 million or more.
New York City is not even a particularly difficult place to not live in for tax purposes, because if you really wanted to, you could go and live in New Jersey and commute in every day. If you are particularly wealthy, you could do what a lot of hedge fund billionaires do and live in Miami and make sure not to spend more than 182 days a year in your New York holiday home. Extreme examples like this do happen, and they get a lot of attention from everybody when they do, because one side of the debate uses it to highlight how ultra-wealthy people dodge and skirt around laws so we should tax them more effectively, and the other side uses it to highlight how ultra-wealthy people dodge and skirt around laws so we shouldn't bother trying at all.
This is what Logan Paul does with Puerto Rico. Both the Paul brothers. They live in Puerto Rico a certain number of days a year to avoid taxes. But in fact, they don't even, my understanding is they don't even stay in Puerto Rico. They fly in, then take a boat out. So on paper, they're still staying more days in Puerto Rico. But they're actually in America. And so when they boat back and then fly out, they can count the time between those two flights as a number of days in Puerto Rico. Which is pretty fucked.
But for all of the attention they get, they are rare. And overwhelmingly for most wealthy people, the business opportunities available in New York against the inconvenience and cost of commuting just make it worth paying the slightly higher taxes. Now, that would be the end of that, if only it wasn't for the curious cases of California and the United Kingdom. So it's time to learn how money works to find out if a max exodus of rich people is actually a problem. This video is sponsored by Brilliant, the interactive learning platform that helps you think more clearly. Premium subscription for unlimited daily access.
Brilliant.com is how money works.
Okay, so it wouldn't be fair to talk about rich people fleeing without talking about the UK. According to some estimates, the UK lost almost 10,000 high net worth individuals in the last calendar year to net outward migration. Now, some people have highlighted some structural problems with the Henley & Partners report on which this is based, and we will get into that.
Okay.
But overall, their methodology is at least somewhat consistent over time, and it does draw on expertise and collaboration from a wide range of industry professionals and global bodies. The point is, it shows that the UK was once a magnet for...
Again, like I said, it wouldn't surprise me the UK is losing a bunch of millionaires, but I would say it's probably not because of tax policy and probably more because the society is deeply dysfunctional now, and people, they can just go somewhere else after they've already extracted the benefit of that. That's more likely.
Global wealth, as people were attracted to its accommodating financial center and high-end amenities that catered almost exclusively to the ultra-wealthy. But over time, the country, and in particular the City of London, saw that these wealthy people were causing some problems. I made a video about this just 3 months ago, so I am not going to give you the whole spiel. But the cliff notes are, they drove up home prices, they turned the financial system into a laundry machine, and they didn't actually contribute that much to the economy relative to the concessions that were made to attract them. Yeah, sure, some global billionaires hired a lot of maids and service staff, but the average Brit probably wouldn't consider being a butler to Bohr's war crime ski an ideal economic outcome.
Well,
now, to be fair, there were higher skilled roles like financial services that developed around these wealthy individuals as well. But a 2022 paper found that a majority of this work was done offshore anyway, providing questionable benefits to the country. As policies were introduced to curtail money laundering and actually get something out of all the wealth that was being parked in London, these wealthy individuals did indeed start leaving. The exact numbers are up for debate, but wealthy people are moving out, primarily to places like Dubai that are becoming what London was 10 years ago.
Just
a low
tax
tax
havens?
money laundry with some Gucci stores stapled on.
Wow.
So yeah, millionaire exoduses do happen, but London is more of the exception that proves the rule. When a country was filled up to begin with by people just looking for the best deal for them and their money, then of course those are the same kind of people to move on just as quickly when a better deal becomes available. Competing in a race to the bottom to be the lowest bidder for a few thousand wealthy individuals looking to pay back as little as possible is a losing proposition.
Yeah.
Even if you win, your prize is a collection of people with no local attachment who by definition don't want to contribute.
Yeah.
But even while all of this was happening, the number of millionaires in the UK actually increased. This
Boy, bruv.
homegrown wealth is also much less likely to leave because, well, it's their home. Most people, even those with extremely high incomes, aren't going to leave their home cities, social networks, families,
especially
customs, and
just
way of life over
millionaires.
some tax savings. And that's assuming that they
I feel
even
like
could.
you have to be like 100 million plus to be like, I'll just live in private jet somewhere else around the world. Yeah, people have deep connection. Their business is deep. Everything's connected to where they live and grow. It's like a very elite class that could just jump countries.
Would. On a small scale, we saw this play out over the last 5 years between California and Texas.
Or I guess someone who's just like, really lonely and made some money on crypto. I guess if you're just in your room and you made a fucking 2 million on crypto or whatever, I guess you could jump around. That would also.
Moving between states is easier than moving
That's not
between
much of a
countries.
loss.
This enabled a lot of remote workers and entire businesses to shift from
Aiden?
expensive, high-tax cities in California.
No, Aiden's the exception, bro. Everybody makes fun of Aiden. I make fun of Aiden, but he did his research. He really wants to move. He's doing it the right way. Boring ass Aiden, bro. But he's doing it. I'm just sad. We were talking, bro. Me and Aiden did a lot of talking on this trip. I'm gonna miss him. I'll say it. I'm gonna miss Aiden. It's gonna be sad. He's gonna move to Sweden. I like hanging out with Aiden. He's my dog. It's sad. No, we're not gonna end LS. Honestly, we're gonna do more travel apps, probably like we did in Japan, but we're still gonna do the show. We're not gonna end it. And he's not leaving for another fucking year and a half, 2 years, honestly. So I'm sure it won't even last that long. Who knows? But I'm just gonna miss him in LA. He's fun to hang out with. Because here's the thing. I love LA. I know it sounds fucking crazy. Nobody believes me, but I do. I like the Lakers. I like the weather. I like everything about LA except for the traffic and the fucking. I like LA. I like it's closest to Mexico, so Ari can see her family. I like it's closest to Arizona, so I can see my family. I like it, but most people don't like it, and I don't blame them because it's trafficy and smoggy and expensive. So I know in my heart that if I flash forward 5 years, all my friends in LA will slowly but surely settle down somewhere else. Like they're all gonna do it, and it's sad. It makes me sad.
California to more business-friendly, cheaper, and lower tax states like Texas. But as people were forced back into offices and the AI bubble started blowing back towards a proven
Someone in chat said, "You always have us." Oh, good. Oh, all my real life friends move away? No worries. I've always got you. Wow. Never thought about it like that.
tech hub, places like Austin are facing serious shocks in their housing market, which had boomed on the expectation that these temperamental tech workers would keep on coming forever. The channel Upton did a great on-the-ground video on this a few months ago, so I will leave a link to that in the description. A lot of wealth in an area is tied to that area itself, and even more comes from its institutions. In that 2017 study on the Laffer curve, America had the highest revenue maximizing tax rate out of all OECD countries because we have so many domestic industries that generate enormous fortunes. A wealthy American could renounce their citizenship and move overseas for lower taxes or more accommodating regulations. But almost nobody does it, because having unfettered access to Silicon Valley, Wall Street, American real estate, or a financial system is worth more to most wealthy people than some tax savings. The study's method found that we could set top marginal tax rates as high as 76%, and most people would just have to suck it up and pay it, because leaving would—
it's not like it's crazy. We've already done it. We did it before. We did it before, and it was remarkably successful. It wasn't crazy. It was so doable. It's just not, it's not even, it's in living memory of so many people in America. And it was during one of the most prosperous times in America where the wealth was broadly, we had a strong, thriving middle class, one of the greatest middle classes in human history, maybe the greatest middle class in human history. So it's just frustrating.
Have a higher opportunity cost. This study wasn't suggesting that we should do that, but it was suggesting that the idea that raising taxes would lower revenue wasn't grounded in reality. Now, even with all this, it's important to acknowledge that as people get wealthier, setting up a life in a new country and moving wealth around the globe does become easier. These people are also naturally more high profile than your average run-of-the-mill high net worth individual, so they do get more attention. But in terms of general economic activity, job creation, and entrepreneurship, it's much better to have 1,000 extra millionaires than one single billionaire. And this is what we have overwhelmingly seen in major centers where the wealth exodus is getting the most attention. There is a chart that really puts this whole discussion into perspective, because it highlights just how much of a big deal wealthy people threatening to leave their home country really is. It's right here. This is the total migration rate of dollar millionaires amongst all of the countries seeing the biggest outflows. And no, this isn't me screwing up my graphs again.
Okay.
The report that compiled these numbers generously said that reported numbers of millionaires migrating in 2024 represented approximately 0% of millionaires at global and national levels. The UBS Global Wealth Data Book estimates that there are about 60 million millionaires in the world today. A few thousand of them finding a new home is not statistically significant.
What the fuck, who cares?
This is also including wealthy people that just happen to move to countries for reasons other than saving on tax, like avoiding conflicts, political instability, or just moving to a nice place for retirement. But all right. Let's say for the sake of argument that there was some kind of change that actually did scare away a lot of wealthy people. Would that actually be a problem? Well, yes. And places like South Africa, Lebanon, Venezuela, and Russia have over several years seen this kind of capital flight. But it wasn't wealthy people leaving that destabilized these countries. It was the instability that caused the wealthy people to leave.
Exactly.
Even if we ignore correlation and causation for a second, several studies, including some from Nobel Prize winners, have been done on the impact of these people immigrating. What they have found is that overwhelmingly, the biggest loss is the expertise of skilled workers rather than the money of a few wealthy investors. Losing a handful of doctors, engineers, lawyers, and institutional managers hurts a lot more than losing some cash. Money can be printed, and infrastructure can't be taken away in a suitcase, but human capital is both mobile and very hard to replace. Under normal circumstances, these people are far less likely to move away from their home, since qualifications like medical degrees are not always transferable. So yes, this could be a problem if your definition of wealthy person includes high-end skilled professionals rather than just exclusively independently wealthy asset owners. Fortunately, the best way to get these people to stick around is to just make sure that institutions are well run and that people feel comfortable in their home. Anyway, go and watch this video next to find out why it seems that everything from wealth to rhetoric—
I mean, I like this video, I agree. It's just, I think we just need to keep hammering home that it's not that crazy.